Hi, I'm Dabby, but you can call me Dabz. So today I'm reviewing When My Name Was Keoko by Linda Sue Park. So this book is about Sunhee and her older brother Taeyeol. It is set in Korea during the time of World War II, when Korea was under Japanese rule. Sunhee and her family are very proud to be Korean, of their culture and of their heritage. But when Japan takes over, they try to erase Korean culture by placing rules, like all students must learn to read and write Japanese, and forbidding people to fly the Korean flag, and uprooting and burning all of the Rose of Sharon trees, which Rose of Sharon is the national Korean flower. But the hardest rule is when all Koreans are forced to change their names to Japanese names. Sunhee becomes Kyoko and Taeyeol becomes Nobuo. But Sunhee and her family do not let go of their culture, even if it means they must take risks and make sacrifices. So I ended up really enjoying this book. It's a historical fiction, which I don't tend to read a lot, but I really love this one. And I think part of the reason why I liked it so much was because I'm Korean, and so it was amazing to learn so much about what Korea went through and about Korea itself. And I think it was interesting because this part of history, like this event or like this time period in history, is so important, especially to World War II. But when I had the World War II unit in school, we didn't talk about it at all, and we should talk about it more. So this book is told from two different perspectives. One of them is Sunhee and the other is Taeyeol. And I found pros and cons to the two point of views. I think that on one side, it showed two different lives, two different experiences from that time. Especially, it was interesting how one of the experiences was from a boy at that time and the other was from a girl at that time. I feel like that differs it a little bit. But on the other hand, I feel like the point of views were a little bit confusing, mostly, especially in the beginning, but they were also kind of confusing time to time in the middle and end. Because as someone who doesn't really focus on chapter titles, the point of views were kind of hard to differentiate. I go through like Goodreads book reviews of the books that I'm reviewing just to like look at other people's opinions because I'm interested, because I'm like wondering. And one of the reviews I saw, the person that wrote the review is really smart because they realized that Sunhee's chapters were all in past tense and Taeyeol's chapters were all in present tense. And they also were talking about how Sunhee's chapters alone are more complete. They tell most of the story, while Taeyeol's provides details and provides kind of action, makes the story intriguing, and fills in those like blank spots where we don't know what happened. So I thought that was really cool because it's obvious that the author purposely, like intentionally did it so that one of them was past tense and one of them was present tense. So I don't know, I found that really interesting when I found that so, like, I don't know any other words to describe it. So amazing, so fabulous, fantastic when I found out. Yeah. When I read the book, I didn't even realize, but then I saw that review and I went back and I realized, oh my gosh. Since this book was a historical fiction, it had lots of real facts. One of them that really stuck with me was about a marathon runner, Son Gi-chung, and it was about how he's a Korean marathon runner, but he ran at the time that this story was taking place, and he was forced to run under a Japanese name, or like compete under a Japanese name. His nationality was put down as Japanese, and he kind of had to represent Japan even though he was Korean. And there was a lot of other information and small like facts like that throughout the story. Along with parts of the story and parts of the characters' lives, especially the two main characters, were based off of real stories. Especially the author's parents would tell the author stories, and so she incorporated these stories into the characters in her book, which I thought that was really cool. I need to learn more adjectives. That's so cool, interesting. It's always that. There's also an author's note at the end, which is where I got a lot more information about like these little facts that were in the book. Especially that's where I got a lot of information about the marathon runner. And if you end up reading this book and you're interested in the topic, I would 100% recommend reading the author's note to get a lot more information. It went into a lot of detail while still being interesting to read, and a lot of the information stuck with me and I was able to remember it, unlike other historical fictions, because I always say like I love historical fictions because they're fun, but also I get to like learn stuff. But in reality, I learn a lot, but I don't remember it. Not a lot of it sticks with me, probably because I have a bad memory. But with this book, a lot of the details, like small details, stuck with me. This book was honest, it was touching, and it was just written amazingly. And while I would recommend it to people of Korean descent to be able to learn and connect with their history, and to people who are interested in Korea and World War II so that they can learn more about these topics, I would still recommend this book to people that don't fit into those two categories, because although for someone not interested in these, like in the topic, it may be a little bit difficult to get into the book to actually like start like getting invested in the story. But I feel like this is such an important, like the story is so important that I would still recommend it to everyone to at least try to read. And I give this book 4.75 out of 5 stars. It's really good. It's up there, you know, it's a top. So that will be the end of my book review. If you like this video, then like this video and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and happy reading. So that will be the end of my book review. If you like this book, yeah, I like this book. Me too.